first question I always ask you is, where are you in the world today and why are you there?
Okay, so I'm currently in Mauritius, which is a beautiful place. We'll have to invite you, Gary, where we have an investment banking license. So we're developing that and excited, building a relatively new team. And we think there's lots of opportunities here with a different type of license.
It's interesting. I've always seen you as the archetypical globetrotter, and you seem quite settled at the moment. It's not that I'm not stalking you or anything, but you don't seem to be traveling as much. Why is that? And is that because what you're doing in Mauritius is important to your growth? And tell me a little bit more about the Mauritius side of the business.
Please. Okay, so I've done a lot of flights in my time. So I use Trip app. So if you ever use an app just to track the traveling, I was averaging 10 times around the world a year. So 225,000 miles per year around the world. It's 22,000 around the world. I'm actually, you say I'm not traveling as much, but I've done 70 flights this year. So I'm still traveling. This Mauritius is, for us, we feel it's a very, very good base. And I'm going to be spending more of my time here developing a team. And it's really a team that can help the rest of deVere Group. The world is changing very fast, as we both know, and the opportunity to offer more products to clients and give more access to advisors of different things, I think is essential, and that's what we're able to do from Mauritius.
Now, you say that, just can you elaborate a little bit further as to what's happening there? You've got, I believe you brought on 30 new staff last week. You've got a team of 50 plus. What's happening? That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people, yes. So I'm going to think around the world, there's 4 locations that you can have what's called a global license. So Switzerland, Hong Kong, and Singapore. So those particular countries allow you to give products into other countries, provided you don't solicit. So in other words, we can have an advisor, let's say they're in Dubai, and they can be talking to a client, they're soliciting, in other words, they're approaching people based on their license. But let's say they don't have something that's available that could be offered, via Mauritius. They can refer them. And that gives us the opportunity then to access perhaps other products that may be suitable for the client.
Got you. Just, so one of the things, when I always tell people when I'm going to be interviewing Nigel, I say, I'm interviewing Nigel, what do you want me to ask him? And one of the things that I was asked to ask you was just people who have an issue with you talk about deVere being banned in various jurisdictions. I mean, I was speaking to somebody the other week and this, well, they've been banned in Singapore, they've been banned in the US, South Africa, and even for a time in the UK. First off, those kind of, the fact that those things have happened in the past, they obviously have damaged the reputation, damaged the business. Would you like to be fully operational in these places again? You mentioned Singapore, for example, and can you discuss any of these individual situations? Are there any updates?
Yeah, they're happy to discuss all of them. I mean, we've never been banned as well for a start. So, okay, let's get that right. I think in the internet these days, everybody has issues. Doesn't matter which company it is, somebody's going to be saying something online. We're actually very proud of the record. So over 20 years, we've had 4 very small administrative fines. We've never, ever been banned in any single country. So Singapore, we owned a company there that actually closed down, but there was never a ban in Singapore. That's complete nonsense. It's a country which is complex. And at the time, you're only allowed to sell Singaporean products. That has actually changed. But at the time, we're very, very focused on cross-border. So we like to be able to advise clients on products that really they can take wherever they want to in the world. And I do think that's still the biggest opportunity. In the UK, we've never had an issue in the UK. So, we had an investigation, which lots of companies get an investigation, and were investigated and no action was taken in the UK. So we've actually got 2 companies in the UK. One of them is Workplace Solutions, which advises some of the largest companies in the UK, and indeed other people. So that's been super successful for us. So yeah, we continue to grow. South Africa is an interesting one. That's a longer story, but again, no ban. But I had a personal issue there, which was resolved, and actually it was discovered that I hadn't done anything wrong. But nevertheless, it's funny, isn't it, Gary? I mean, things stick. So just imagine that, you're accused of something, even though you haven't done anything. Okay, reality is you were accused, so you must have done something. And it's a little bit like, the camera said you were speeding at 120 kilometers an hour. And you said, well, actually I wasn't. And then somebody reviewed it and said, well, you're right, there's no evidence. And then somebody afterwards saying, well, the camera said you were. Okay, well, actually there wasn't anything. So sometimes I think this affects the whole financial industry, in truth. You get it, and every bank on Wall Street has been fined. So it's an industry where it's very difficult to really just make sure you get everything right all the time, and regulators like to make a point. We've actually done well. And you think we're regulated in 32 different countries, 4 fines, 20 years. If there was no fines, you'd actually think there was something wrong. So I'd actually say we've done extremely well, and we're proud of the record, and we think the systems are even better than they were in the past. Singapore, I'd like to go back actually. That is one that although I actually closed the company down, is one I'd consider. I was there recently for the Grand Prix, awesome city, and maybe, let's see.
Well, thank you for that, and that's really helpful. I think you make some good points there. You never mentioned the US. Don't know whether there was a reason for that, but you're looking at US or LATAM, for example. You see, it's a big area. There's a lot of growth in that area at the moment. Is that somewhere you'd consider going back? Because you did take a rather large hit with the fine there from the SEC. You make a good point that a lot of the big organisations have had fines, across the years.
Well, in fact, we had a settlement for $8 million. I think it was the next day. It was, one of the other big banks had one for 32 million. I think I recall saying one day we'll be a proper company with and everybody gets one in America. So America, the company, we actually sold that particular company, continues to trade and continues to do well. So America is an interesting one. You make your own mind up whether you want to be in America. No British company has really been successful in America, which is a bit crazy as well. And you look at, all the various, including the Marks and Spencers and all those companies. Okay, everyone struggled in America. It's a very litigious society. So there, what happened was there was again an investigation, which is normal in financial services, and the regulator felt in the first 6 months of business that we hadn't declared all things relevant. So the rule in America is you have to declare all things that are relevant. Okay, we declared all charges. So the deVere US business had declared all the charges to the clients, exactly how the product worked, but hadn't declared what it had been paid. We actually ended up in a situation where I could have argued. In fact, the CEO that was in charge, he decided to argue, and he actually ultimately won. So I could have had another 4 years of arguing, and it would have cost me 4 million, my lawyers estimated, if I wanted to argue. And of course, then you're talking to lawyers every day. I actually took a settlement of $8 million. It was a settlement, not a fine. And it was actually not admitted, not denied. So I can't admit that, I made an offence by the company that I owned not declaring what they were paid. The rule actually says, as I said, all relevant facts. Not admitted, not denied. But America is, wow, it's, you look at someone wrong, they sue you. I just decided personally, I didn't want to be talking to lawyers all the time, and America wasn't for me. We're actually just about to open up in Canada. That looks very, very exciting. So you're right, there's some absolutely big markets. Sometimes it's not just about being in the big market though. You've got to be comfortable, you've got to be happy, and work should be fun too. So, we try and be global, but also at the same time, we want to be in environments that we're comfortable working in.
Thank you for that answer. And you know what? One thing that I always admire about you is you don't mind a difficult question. You'll take it full on, and you'll always give us an answer, regardless of what the question is. We've asked some tough questions over the years with you guys. I think, moving on to the future, and right now, at the start of the interview, we were talking about AI because your AI popped up and it was going to transcribe the course of the meeting. How is AI impacting on how you do business? And as someone who's is always at the forefront of fintech, how can you see future developments that affect the advice industry? There's a big one.
I think AI is super fascinating, Gary. Yeah, you probably imagine. I don't know if you saw it, but they did a study where they tested doctors against the AI, and the AI gave better answers than the doctors. And not only that, it showed more empathy. Okay, that's like, ooh, wow. It's like, how far can it go? Can you clone Nigel Green? Wow, that's scary. People viewing the video will go, oh no. It's amazing what you can do. For me right now, it's about enhancement. So if I'm doing a meeting, I can have the AI in the meeting. It can give me a summary. I've obviously got to check it afterwards, make sure I agree with it. I could send that to a client. I could send that to you. So I think the enhancement is absolutely massive. If you're searching for a subject you want to talk about, again, you can use AI to gain the information. A little bit like a taxi, though. We talked earlier on about landing in a country, and this is very, very strange, Gary, but I'll land in a country and I'll get in a car with a taxi driver that I've never met. Okay, which if you think about it logically, doesn't make sense, really. But would I have a self-drive car and just jump in it? Wow, right now I wouldn't. Will I one day? Okay, maybe. So I think when we talk about AI, I think right now I can see that there's lots of enhancements and people that use it can be more effective in what they're doing. Will one day an individual want to just talk to a robot? My question is, maybe the client doesn't know what they don't know. I hope that everybody always wants to talk to a good advisor that can obtain the soft facts, ask the right questions, because if you don't know the question to ask the AI, it can't give you the answers. So I'd like to think it can enhance jobs, and I'd like to believe, certainly in the next 10 years, it won't replace jobs.
Quick question on crypto positive. Are you still crypto positive?
Yes, I'm crypto positive. I think, we've got some interesting things happening at the moment, as you'll be aware of. But I see BlackRock massively going in the market. You think that's the biggest asset manager in the world, saying that it should be part of your holdings. So whilst that hasn't influenced the market yet, I think once there's an ETF for Bitcoin and other similar assets, then I do believe that it's going to have a growing interest. We're living in a world where deglobalization is happening. Okay, so that's fascinating. Some people are going to rebel against that. Okay, the logical answer to that is to use digital assets, and whether it's Bitcoin or something else, to actually have things that are freely movable with ease. I think that's definitely going to occur at some stage in the future. So yes, I'm very positive on it, and I'm interested to see how the market develops.
It's interesting because the backdrop of this chat now is the FTX trial is going on, which I presume you'll be keeping an eye on. I looked at that as being a major nail in the coffin of what was the original crypto, and it does feel like country-backed stable coins are kind of waiting in the wings to be the norm now. Do you have a view on that? Any thoughts on FTX?
I mean, I think same as you. I think it's a nail in some of the old crypto world. So I think we all have to realize that you need some forms of regulation, and this kind of proves it. So, you can't say it's an asset and then not regulate it like an asset. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, I think certainly I'd like to see a situation whereby action's taken if things have been done wrongly, and that then is part of the development of an industry that's trusted. Unfortunately, when you have no regulation, then guess what? You're attracting various people that will take a shortcut. It's the same in financial services today. It's a well-regulated industry globally. I can't think of a country where there isn't regulations, and crypto should be exactly the same. It's it's an asset, might be regulated differently, but absolutely it needs that regulation. And we've seen it around the world. That ultimately improves how people see it, and ultimately that improves how people use it.
I'd like to ask you a couple of really quick questions. We've talked about products in the past, and I'd like to look in particular at the international life industry. How are you getting on with the life industry? It seems that there's been a few to-ins and fro-ins with Nigel Green and some of the companies. And do you feel that you're best served by the cross-border products industry at the moment? If so, why? Why or why not?
I think being a product provider to give them some defense is a challenge. So if you look at cross-border advice, then often there's 2 or 3 regulators involved. So think you've got your home regulator, then you've got the regulator. So let's say you're an Isle of Man company, a regulator in the country perhaps where the product is being advised on, and the client, of course, may move to a different jurisdiction. So you can have different regulators involved when you're dealing with these products. You've seen this with Barclays as well, however, where companies then just suddenly pull out of a market. Okay, I think that's outrageous. So we're in a customer market, we're in a consumer market, and I personally believe that that's our job. Our fundamental job is to try and give the very, very best service. So yes, I'm one of those ones that will go, this isn't what we should be doing for the benefit of the client. I mean, if you think long term, there's a 4-legged stool. The 4-legged stool is the regulator's got to be happy, the product provider's got to be happy, the advisor's got to be happy, otherwise they're not using the product, and so is the client. And if you've got all 4 happy, and it's quite complex, but if you've got that, then obviously you've got a winning solution and you've got a winning situation. The industry needs to grow, it needs to develop more tech, it needs to develop systems. Compliance is super expensive, and that can kill the industry. Last thing the customer needs, in fact, client compliance wants the industry to succeed. So we've got to be able to use tech to be able to regulate effectively, but also at the same time, institutions support that, even when it's potentially expensive, and allow, because it's a world where people do move location and they do need exactly the right product.
And just finally, looking at, you've had an interesting year working. Tell me about the work with the Thai government. There was a press release earlier this year about being part of UK MPs' pension advice, which kind of confused us. We thought that you were, tell us about that. Clarify the UK pension, the MP's pension side of the story, and tell us about the Thai government. That's interesting, British government and Thai government.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do the Thai government. I mean, the Thai government have an advisory panel. It's fascinating what they do. And so I go. They fly me. Okay, it's the first time the government's ever paid for me, right, to travel. But anyway, they fly me into Thailand and pay expenses and etc. And basically, you've got a committee, if you like, or a bunch of people. Some of them are experts in how to give the right nutrition and the right food, and as you'll know, Thailand's very strong on its farming, etc. So you've got different people. I'm the financial person, and we advise the Thai government on how best to develop the country. So it's super good. We're with people, or I'm with people that changed my mindset. I mean, I was with somebody who was very senior in the Chinese government, and they have a different view on the world, and that was wow. So I find it super helpful, and I know the Thai government do. So yes, I'm an advisor to the Thai government, which I'm proud of, but also it's definitely good for me because I really become open to different ideas, different cultures, and people that, the guy that was sat next to me had just spoke at the United Nations. Was Professor Doctor something, right? So imagine you're dealing with those and you're explaining, and they actually like our industry and are fascinated by it. In the UK, we advise some of the major companies, so companies that, such as Rolls-Royce, that have got 200,000 members, and via a company which actually deals with the MPs, they refer us to advise on pensions. So they chose us with another IFA in the UK to advise MPs on their pensions. Okay, so that can be quite complex, but we were chosen out of a large number of IFAs that wanted to be able to do that, and our deVere own workplace solutions won the contract, and as I say, it's with another party, so the MPs can choose from two, and it's particularly about pensions. And of course, we advise about pensions globally, but you can imagine with MPs and pensions, okay, well, that's, it's different. But then so's footballers, okay, you start to talk to them about their pensions, which of course they can retire early. So there's some nuances with MPs. It's an interesting, and obviously we'd like to take that type of service to other countries, not just about pensions, but advising at that level. Again, it kind of opens the mind. So I think always when there's a new challenge, you always have to sit there and think of new ideas. But I think as an industry, there's so many different things that international financial services can offer to people that globally, many governments need advice. And our industry is very lucky. We've got experience globally. Okay, imagine you're in Thailand and, your real experience is Thailand. And you've got, Nigel Green comes in, other people come in, and they've traveled all around the world and spoken to lots of other people. That then to be able to offer that advice. Okay, and even the same thing in the UK. You're able to talk about other countries. You're able to talk about what they're doing with their pensions. Okay, and again, I think the international market, we end up with lots of experience as well as being able to offer a great service, and people like governments, can actually take advantage of it.
Really good answers. Always a pleasure, Nigel. Thanks so much for your time today. And Nigel Green, thank you very much. That's been 20 Minutes With. Thank you very much.